Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to take a super fascinating macro to micro journey, starting from the vast swirling systems of our entire planet right down to the soothing little plants growing in our backyards. You know, we often hear about the environment as this massive, untouchable entity, but the incredible truth is that it's a deeply interconnected web. Every single piece matters. So today, we're going to dive into the undeniable facts and the scientific data surrounding our shifting world, and discover how preserving our broader environment ultimately protects the very resources that keep us healthy. Let's get into it. Here's our game plan for today. We'll kick things off by breaking down weather versus climate. Then we'll look at what's actually causing climate change and the real-world impacts it's having on our planet. After that, we're going to see how we can protect endangered species. And finally, we'll open up nature's very own medicine cabinet. All right, section 1, weather versus climate. Let's go over some atmospheric basics and clear up a really common misconception right off the bat. So think of it like this. Weather is what tells you if you need to grab an umbrella on your way out the door today. It's short-term, and it affects a smaller area, like your specific city. Climate, though, that's a whole different ballgame. Climate is the massive, long-term average pattern over, say, 30 years that dictates the environment of huge regions or even the entire planet. So when we talk about global shifts, we're not talking about a random rainy Tuesday. We are looking at huge, significant changes over 3 whole decades of weather patterns.
Moving right along to section 2, causes of climate change. Let's unpack the forces, both natural and human, that are actually driving these massive planetary shifts.
We actually have to start with nature's own mechanisms here. Our climate naturally fluctuates because of things like solar activities. We're talking about deep, long-term changes in thermonuclear fusion inside the sun's core that actually alter the intensity of the radiation reaching us. Then there's the Earth's reflectivity. Our planet naturally absorbs about 70% of that incoming solar radiation, which obviously contributes to surface heating. And oh man, volcanic eruptions, they play a massive role. When a volcano erupts, it suddenly pumps immense amounts of carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and aerosols into the sky, which can literally block out solar radiation and completely alter the atmosphere. But then we have the human side of the equation. And honestly, we are heavily accelerating these temperature changes. How? Mainly by pumping out greenhouse gases, things like carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbons, and methane, which is mostly driven by rapid industrialization. And it just snowballs from there. Deforestation is a devastating double blow because, well, we're cutting down the exact plants that naturally consume that carbon dioxide. Oh, and get this, the excessive use of chemical fertilizers is a major culprit too. It actually makes the land dangerously dry and releases even more greenhouse gases right into our warming atmosphere. Crazy, right? Which brings us to section 3, impacts on our planet. What are the actual on-the-ground effects of all this? It really forces us to stop and ask a critical question. When that delicate 30-year average climate pattern gets disrupted, what actually happens when the Earth warms up? Well, the momentum of all those natural and human activities leads directly to some pretty intense outcomes. For starters, we're seeing rapid melting of snow in both the polar and Himalayan regions. That directly causes sea levels to rise, which is a huge looming threat to coastal areas. Plus, it completely throws the global water cycle out of whack and drastically reduces our freshwater supply. But what might hit closest to home, climate change actually creates direct human health hazards. We're talking spikes in skin diseases and even severe nutritional deficiencies because traditional crop patterns are changing so radically. Okay, section 4, protecting endangered species. Let's zoom in a bit and talk about conservation for the populations that are the absolute most vulnerable right now. When environmental pollution messes with oxygen levels and the climate shifts, local plants and animals are just rapidly pushed toward extinction. It's a tragic ripple effect. The data clearly shows this decline is driven by wild weather and climate changes, alongside the totally uncontrolled harvesting of biological resources. But also, the unchecked introduction of new, non-native species is a huge problem. Without proper research, these new species often end up completely displacing the indigenous wildlife that has lived there peacefully for centuries. But hey, there is good news here. We have clear, actionable conservation measures to fight back. This means strictly enforcing bans on illegal hunting and poaching and fiercely protecting our natural habitats.
For rare plants, scientists are literally out there collecting seeds for nurseries and using advanced scientific techniques like tissue culture to grow fresh saplings. And for animals right on the brink, we're relying on ex situ conservation areas. Basically, these are highly protected, off-site environments like specialized reserves that keep rare birds and mammals totally safe from shifting climates and predators.
And finally, Section 5, Nature's Medicine Cabinet. Let's zoom all the way down to the incredible healing plants we're working so hard to protect. Plants that, in turn, protect us. First up in our trio of botanical champions is Tulsi, or holy basil. This plant is just incredibly versatile and deeply, deeply rooted in traditional medicine. I mean, nearly every single part of it is used. It stimulates your appetite, helps purify water, and it's famously boiled to soothe throat pain and stubborn cold infections. Amazingly, tradition even dictates keeping this plant near folks at the very end of their lives, because historically, it was believed to help compensate for a lack of oxygen in the air. How fascinating is that? Next on the list is neem. If you've ever looked into Ayurvedic medicine, you have absolutely seen neem. It's a powerhouse natural blood purifier, and its juice is fantastic for treating skin-related health problems. It's even used to help reduce cholesterol. But here's a really interesting scientific caveat. You've got to be careful with it. Consuming too much neem can unexpectedly drop your blood pressure to extremely low levels, so balance is definitely key. Our third marvel is turmeric. Now, this bright plant relies on its rhizome, which is basically just the underground stem of the plant, and it contains a super potent chemical called curcumin. Curcumin is the magic ingredient here. It enhances our body's immunity and actively destroys toxins. So, beyond just making your food look amazing, it actually fights off harmful microorganisms, provides essential minerals like calcium and iron, and even helps prevent respiratory and heart-related diseases. It's a real game changer. Looking at a quick breakdown of our three champions side by side, you'll hear their scientific names, like Ocimum sanctum, Azadioracta indica, and Curcuma longa. They sound a bit complex, for sure, but notice how brilliantly efficient nature actually is. For Tulsi and neem, we literally use almost every single part of the plant, from the roots all the way up to the flowers and fruits. For turmeric, it's all about harvesting that nutrient-dense underground rhizome. Protecting our broader environment guarantees that these incredible, tangible resources stick around for future generations. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with something to chew on. We started today by looking at massive 30-year global climate shifts, and we just ended by looking at the tiny roots of a healing plant. It is all deeply, fundamentally connected. Your daily choices, whether it's the energy you consume, the products you buy, or the habitats you advocate for, ripple directly through this magnificent web of nature. So what small change can you make today to help maintain that vital balance?